What if everything you think you are isn't? Not your name, not your past, not even your thoughts. In this episode, I take you deep into a raw Q&A session where we explore what the ego is not and how true awakening can feel like a kind of inner death because it is the death of illusion. This was recorded during a past Q&A where I spoke candidly about suicide, the spiritual path, and the shift that changes everything. It's not always easy to hear, but the truth never is, until it sets you free. Hey everyone, Cindy Tevens here. Welcome to the Ego Workshop 2017. I am the creator of the Ego Workshop, and we're going to be talking about ego. Great surprise. Why? Why am I here talking about ego? Why do I do this? See, my father suffered so severely that he became depressed, and so severely depressed that he died by suicide. Now, that led me on a quest to find an end to suffering. And I did everything I could. I read everything I could. I studied everything I could. And the stuff made sense, but it didn't free me. It was my own direct, introspective looking, inquiring that did it. And so now I share that. I share what I learned, what I discovered. You can read more or listen more about about what happened to me, either on my website or in YouTube videos that I put out there. I'm not going to talk too much about that tonight. I want to dive into the ego. But now I cut through spiritual stories to get to the final truth that once seen can't be lost. It's an end to the roller coaster ride. I'm going to release the first of 4 official Ego Workshop videos that reveal the 5 powers you were born with but don't know you have. And we'll discuss them here. I'll also discuss what unconsciousness is. You will immediately recognize it in your life. And also what ego is. During this workshop, I'm also going to be doing Facebook Lives like this one in the group, where you can get live answers about ego. Now, if you don't catch me live, you can always leave a question in the Facebook group, and I will see it there, and I'll either answer it there or I'll save it for another live. I've got a few questions already because we have, how many people in the group now? Almost 150, I think. And so in addition to what ego is not, I'm going to talk about what ego actually, I'm going to hint at what ego is. I'm not going to get into that too far because the official videos that I'm going to release are, that's what they're all about. And they lead you through in a way, the ABCs. You need to have the building blocks to really understand very well. So I'm going to try not to reveal everything that's coming in those very powerful videos, but I'll do my best at the same time as to try and answer some of these questions that that I've been getting. There's a lot of confusion out there. I know I was confused myself. There's a lot of conflicting information, a lot of stories about ego, what it is and what it's not, and who we are and what this world is and what it's not. And so how to cut through all that BS, I call it BSS, built on spiritual stories, how to cut through that and really get to the truth, because the truth never changes, whereas a lot of these stories change. They change with the mind, and the mind changes flippantly, as I'm sure you've seen. And so truth cannot be just of the mind. In fact, truth cannot be of the mind. And mind actually can't know truth. Yeah, mind is like, thoughts are like pointers. So we use language, thought, mind, to try and point to the truth so that the truth can be seen. But of course, the pointers are not the thing which we're pointing to. If I pointed to the moon and you looked at my finger and thought it was the moon, Houston, we have a problem. So we have this intelligence. We have enough intelligence to try and look at what's being pointed at. Not just go to the thoughts that you have acquired or, learned, to not try and work from the mind, but to see what is real, to see what is true, to see what is now. That's what I'm doing. That's what this work is about. And if you're tired of stories, you're in the right place. So what ego is not. In the Facebook group, I ask people what they think ego is. And I put a couple of options up there. And most people, if you go into the ego workshop, November 2017 group, you'll see the majority of people think that ego is a voice in the head. Other options are misidentification, the entire personality construct. Oh, somebody added that one. It's very interesting. Pain stored in the body. But the majority is really indicating most people think that ego is a voice in the head. So now let's bust that one right here and now. Ego is not a voice in the head. If ego was the voice in the head, we'd be in real trouble. I mean, not that we're not in trouble, but how many crazy thoughts have you had? Do you act on all of them? Do you respond to all of them? Right? They're just crazy and optional. All thoughts are optional. Not optional in the way that you can pick and choose which thoughts you're going to have. You have no idea which thought is going to come next. If you did, we'd all be controlling our thoughts and nobody would ever have a bad thought. So they're not optional in that sense. But they are optional in that the content of these thoughts is not fundamental truth, not fundamental reality. They're possibilities and they're pointers to possibilities, but they're not truth themselves, which means somebody, intelligence, picks and chooses which thoughts they say are real and important or not. Everybody in this group, if we could get inside their minds, you would find that there's a particular thought that will bug you. Oh my God, it will bug you. And it won't even touch the next person. It's the exact same thought. And if it were the thought that was a problem, everybody would have that problem with that thought. So it's not true. So the difference is which thoughts are important to you. Which ones have you focused on? And actually, the ones that you focused on are the ones that are going to come the most because they've been given the most energy. So yes, you've conditioned the mind. You've conditioned the mind with the thoughts that you like and dislike. And then we think we dislike a thought, so we shouldn't have it, right? Yeah, all these ideas, and then we battle. We believe them. So you do battle with thought. Yeah. You don't like that thought, so you're going to do battle with it. You think that will get rid of it. And it doesn't go away. In fact, it probably gets worse. It comes more and more. You're going to see the 5 powers that you were born with are what's causing this. Once you see that, you can stop doing it. Those 5 powers are going to be revealed in the official Ego Workshop videos starting the 21st. So you've had many thoughts. You have many thoughts every day. But each one is not problematic. And so thoughts themselves are not problematic. There's something else going on. So ego itself is not a thought in itself. I hope I've blown that one out of the water. If there's any questions on that one, just post them down here. Someone says, so the truth of the mind will always be based in relativity? The truth of the mind, I'm not sure what that is. And I'm not sure what you mean by relativity. So maybe you can give me more information and I can answer that one for you. Meanwhile, I'll go on. You'll notice that when you use something and I don't understand how you're using it, I'm going to ask you for more information over it. I need to get really real. Otherwise, what's the point in even trying to answer? What happens is I'm answering my idea of what your question is. And that could leave you going, come on, Cindy, that was totally not what I was asking and I totally useless. So I get very clear, very specific, and very real. Because my pet peeve is spiritual stories, unreal spiritual stories. tiring, useless. They just spin the mind. They go nowhere. And so hang around me and we're going to get real. So a few more questions people have asked. Some of these questions are touching on a lot of material that's going to be released in the Ego Workshop videos, the 4 of them. So I'm not going to actually answer all of them here. I might answer a portion of them and wait for those videos to come out to take out the chunk of this and give you that and much, much more. Here's a quote I put up in the group. Thoughts are options. They're not mandatory. They don't mean anything. They're just what the brain does. It's like a reflex organ. That's its job, And apparently, I don't know who counted it, but apparently we have something like 40,000 thoughts in one day. Whew. It's a good thing we're not interested in all of them. So we must learn to work with the mind, not against it. You must make mind your friend rather than try and battle mind. It's never worked. It's never going to work. Okay, so some questions. I don't understand what unconsciousness is. Can you help me see the difference between me, ego, and unconsciousness? Great questions. All of these are going to be addressed in the videos. How to identify and control ego? Okay, let's see. The difference between me, ego, and wow. I might leave that one for later. What unconsciousness is? Maybe I'll touch on that one. Unconsciousness. Who here has had the experience of unconsciousness, or what you would call unconsciousness? You've probably only recognized it when it was over. When something came and passed and went and you acted on it. And then in retrospect, you say that wasn't me, or I knew better. I knew better. What's going on? When this first started happening to me, I felt like I had one foot in and one foot out of consciousness and unconsciousness. And I almost wished to be completely unconscious again so that I had no awareness of this happening. However, that hurt, being completely unconscious. It's very painful. So that's not a solution. The solution is keep on going, get through to the end of this, find out what's going on, pay attention. Paying attention is very, very, very important. Paying attention to what? Not thought. Okay. I had a conversation in the group earlier about thought, and maybe I should go to that conversation. It was quite good. It's getting into the differences between thought knowledge and actual knowledge. For example, thought knowledge, I could tell you your stove is hot. Does that make your stove hot? Does it make it real that your stove is hot? You can have the thought that your stove is hot. Does that make your stove hot? Is the thought, my stove is hot, the same thing as a hot stove? Or can you discern a difference between a thought about a hot stove and an actual hot stove? There is a difference. One is a thought, one is not. If you can discern that, and I think most people can, and if you can't, I suggest you go up to a hot stove and think about it being hot and see what that's like. And then touch a hot stove and see what that's like. So if you can then discern that, then you can start to discern all the times there is a thought about something and the actual something. And that could be a person. That could be anything. There was one time I was walking out in the lawn in a park nearby, and I looked down and, there was this dog doo-doo, and I had to step around it. And I kept walking, and there's another one. And I thought, thoughts started to come up about people, they're so lazy, they shouldn't have dogs, yada, yada. And then a third one came. And I was working myself into this, huge froth. This was a long time ago. It doesn't happen anymore. Working myself into this huge froth about people and dogs when I found a fourth. And that was just over the top. And I was like, no, wait a minute. That can't be. There's never that amount in this park. So I actually paid attention, bent over and looked closer and looked left and looked right and saw a whole bunch more, and looked up and saw a whole bunch more that were all evenly spaced apart. This was the land aeration machine that had pulled out clods of soil and left it on top. It wasn't dog doo-doo in the first place. So you can mind read dog doo-doo. You can mind read people. You can mind read everything. And the thought about the thing is not the thing. Even if there was dog doo-doo, the thought of dog doo-doo is not the dog doo-doo. Let's be clear, okay? Because if it were a thought, you could step in it, no problem. So I challenge you, if you don't still know the difference between a thought about something and something, go ahead out in the park and see if you can find some dog doo-doo to step in. See if that is a fine reality for your hardwood floor or your carpet, even worse. So we have acquired thought knowledge, a lot of thought knowledge. We've been living in our heads. We've had nothing but thought knowledge practically, to the degree that we have confused ourselves. Kathleen says, haha, I did that once. What? I'm afraid to ask what. Stepped in the doo-doo and brought it in the house. Okay. You know what? I'd rather step in real doo-doo than in the doo-doo of the mind. Okay. Because this is ugly. This is a messy, very difficult to clean up. And it's not where you want to stay. But once you get in there, very hard to get out. So, where was I? Thought is not what is. And we've been living not only as if thought is what is, but worse, as if we are thought, as if that's who and what you are. And that's what we're going to be talking about this whole workshop. Ego, what that is, unconsciousness, what that is, who you are, who you're not. We're gonna tag it all, and there's a lot. So that's why we're breaking it down into videos, little digestible parts, and doing these live Q&As so that you can ask questions and get answers. And I do invite you again to put a comment on there. Let me know what you're thinking so far. Does any of this make sense? Is anybody stuck anywhere? Let me know. Because I don't like to go ahead when people are stuck. And then there's no point in that. I remember that as a child in especially in physics class. I'd be stuck on something and they'd charge full on ahead onto something that was built on the thing I was stuck on. So how far was I going? So let's break it down. Get real close. Get real. Ask questions. You have to ask questions. I'm not much for soliloquies. I can talk. People who know me know that I can talk. But the power here, the power in this work is through back and forth questions that help you get clear. So you can ask a question live by typing it in the text below the video. If you're on this webinar and this ego workshop, you've joined the egoworkshop.com. Hopefully you have. And you can always reply to my email and ask questions there. I won't reply personally there, but I will bring that question in to the live broadcast and or answer it in text. So if you want to do it anonymously so nobody knows it's your question, that's one way to do it. And if I don't get to your question today, I'll answer it in text in the future or in a future live broadcast. So won't be here much longer. The way it works, as long as you text, I talk. It's about all we're going to cover today on what ego is not. Ego is not what you thought it is. It's also not a feeling. Most people think ego is a feeling or a thought feeling. I call them thought feelings because they arise together. A judgmental thought feeling, that's what people think ego is. An angry thought feeling, that's what people think ego is. It's none of that either. That may feel bad, but ego is not just the bad. That's the other thing. It's the bad that tends to bring us to this work, to wake us up, generally. And so quite often, that's what we think ego is. And ego gets a bad rap. It's brought you to this work, though. And yes, you will need to abandon it. But first, you have to know what it is in order to abandon it. So that will be another broadcast. what actually is ego. Okay, that's about it for what ego is not. Access will be sent to you in the email, so you must be on the list to get access to these videos. They're not a Facebook product. They're produced elsewhere. Kathleen asks, do you agree with the Course in Miracles regarding ego? Course in Miracles is a big book. A lot of people who read my work or listen to my work see correlations with the Course in Miracles. And so much that I had to read the book. I didn't read all of it, but I was quite intrigued because people were asking me, is this the Course in Miracles? Yeah, no, but truth is truth. And Course in Miracles does quite touch on truth. I don't think it goes far enough or clear enough. You've got this huge book. It's like really big and thick. There's really one line in there that is the essence, that is the most important, that if you got that, you got the whole book, really. It's an entertaining comment about the tiny mad idea you forgot to laugh at. And if you've read The Course in Miracles, you may or may not understand what that tiny mad idea is. The Course in Miracles is saying, this tiny mad idea is the ego. And there's been an error made, for sure. It's not like sometimes your ego bugs you and sometimes it doesn't. There is not you and the ego, because if you even for a fleeting moment actually saw the difference, it would be ego death. It would be over. So a lot of people say, my ego does this, my ego does that. Nah. We're not talking about ego in the sense of, in the generic sense of he has a big ego. That's not what a spiritual ego is. So what is the spiritual ego? What is the ego that the Course in Miracles is pointing to? An ego is a thing that can be pointed to, but not contained, because it's not a thing. Ego is not a thing, and it's not a part of you. These are expressions I hear people use. There's not you and ego. All right, I'm just going to tell you. So ego is a case of mistaken identity. Okay? It's you not knowing who you really are. And so you confuse yourself for other things, for other phenomena, temporary phenomena, the body, thoughts, feelings. Someone mentioned personality. So that is not, none of that is what ego is at all. At all. So I hope you throw it all out and question what you think you know. So yeah, ego is intriguing. It's a very strange phenomena. It is ignorance of the real and identification of yourself, your identity, with the unreal. So I hope that answers that question. I know there's going to be more questions about that. And bring them up, bring them forward. More will be revealed in the Ego Workshop, where we not only show you the 5 powers you were born with but don't know you have, and so they go on autopilot, causing havoc and unconsciousness in your life, but also a 2-minute technique to inner peace, which I think you're going to love. So stick around. Let's get real. Thanks for coming and joining and talking. Until next time, if you're not on the list, get on the list, egoworkshop.com, so you'll get the videos. And I look forward to releasing them. And thank you very much for your time. Until next time, enjoy yourself, because self is all you've ever enjoyed. And keep it real. If this episode stirred something in you, if you felt the truth behind the words, or sensed the illusion beginning to crack, I want to personally invite you to go deeper. For the first time in a year, I'm offering a free live public workshop, a raw, real, and powerfully transformative event where we won't just talk about ego. We'll see through the beliefs, the stories. If you're ready to stop suffering, if you're ready to meet who you are without the mask, this is where it begins. You can join from anywhere, and it's completely free. Head to egoworkshop.com and reserve your spot now. P.S. Ego is clinging to story, even if it hurts. The self lets go. There's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with what you believe you are. Ego is about a better story of you. Truth needs no story. So freedom isn't found in fixing yourself, and you don't lose anything real when the ego dies. You just lose the noise.